All right, 112 folks, let's talk a little bit more about Unit 6. Let's talk more about what's happening with Unit 29. We're in the midst of the Great Depression. Here's the way it works. Everyone thought it was an economic hiccup, and it was indeed an economic hiccup, but people panicked. And when people panic on the stock market, they start selling off. When they start selling off, a lot of times they can't meet margin call at the end of the day. When they can't meet margin call, then they're going to have to dig into savings. And when it turns out that the bank is risking your money as well as their money, well, there's not a whole lot to get from savings. What will happen is because people panic, the stock market comes crashing down. Because the stock market crashes, what will happen is a lot of the banks are going to have runs on them. People are going to try to get their savings out, and they're going to come crashing down. There's going to be a panic, and it's going to look like that scene from, It's a Wonderful Life with runs on the bank. What happened is this. Hoover was president. Hoover became president because he did a bang-up job in Europe with fixing Europe, with restoring it after the war and feeding with the people. And so when he runs for president, we say, hey, he's got credentials. He does well. We should go ahead and give him the job. He does the job. The idea being is he wants us to just get back to the way things were. The problem is we have a lot of secret issues. We have a lot of economic issues that nobody's paying attention to. So when it comes crashing down, Hoover does nothing. He's like, we've had depressions before. We've had economic hiccups before. Americans are great people. They're ingenious people. They can handle this problem. And so he does nothing. And by the time he realizes, oh my gosh, this is really an issue, maybe we should do something, what he proposes is a Band-Aid. And if you want to quote certain pop artists, Band-Aids don't fix bullet holes. And so that's what we're looking at this particular point, is we're looking at some underwhelming responses. And so when the rest of the economy comes crashing down, we have people that are joining the road. People are living in roadside shacks thrown together out of clapboards and pallets and things. We have the introduction of Hoovervilles, because he gets all the blame. And it's not all his fault, but he does get all the blame. And so when he has to run for president against Roosevelt, it's not amazing that Roosevelt gets the job. What Roosevelt promises is, listen, we got a raw deal. What we need is a new deal. We need to be able to fix some of these things. And so what he's going to do is, when he becomes president, he's going to go ahead and propose some changes. And those changes are pretty important things. And so what will happen is, when he becomes president, he's going to get a body of advisors. He's going to get a whole bunch of people that work in industry, that work in jobs, that work in a variety of things, to say, okay, what are the problems? Okay, what are the problems? He's going to take a page out of Wilson's book. As a matter of fact, if you start thinking about president economy, this is the page that President Trump takes. It's like, okay, well, let me find experts in the field and see what they think we should do. And so what he's going to do is develop what I call the ABC plan, or alphabet soup plan. I say alphabet soup because there's a whole lot of letters. There's a whole lot of programs. There's a whole lot of things that come up. One of the things that comes out of this is going to be the WPA, the Works Progress Administration. The Works Progress Administration is going to be about government-funded jobs. It's going to be about putting people back to work in a variety of things. It's going to be about the CCC, the Civilian Conservation Corps. It's going to be about the Tennessee Valley Authority. It's going to be about the Rural Electrification Project. It's going to be about the government spending money and saying, well, listen, let's put people back to work. We put them back to work. They get paychecks. So they get paychecks, and they're going to start spending money. Let's do what we can to get people working, and then we'll worry about the rest of it. He makes some positive changes. He makes some fiascos along the way. He's going to get challenged in the Supreme Court at some points along the way. And so what's going to happen is he's going to start throwing programs, boom, 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 and throwing them at the wall and see what works and see what sticks. And if something doesn't work, it's like, okay, let's toss that out and let's try a different one. Let's try all the possible solutions. And that first 100 days, he's going to have a whole lot of programs, and he's going to have a whole lot of people that are working with him because they want to see the changes. he creates some wonderful things. He creates the Dodd-Frank Act, which is going to make sure that your money in the bank is separate from the bank's money, that investment banking is a different thing than your savings accounts. He's going to help create the Federal Reserve System to make sure that banks are legitimate, to make sure that banks aren't failing, to make sure that banks have some backing. He's going to help to create the Social Security Reserve System. The idea of folks that are indeed work all their lives, they're elderly, they can't take care of themselves. We're going to help take care of them. He's going to do some things that try to restructure America and the finances. He makes some positive changes, but truthfully, the thing that really pulls us out of the Great Depression is going to be World War II. Okay, it's going to be taking a few million American soldiers and putting them, in the army. It's going to be taking those jobs they would normally be working and putting the women, putting the older people, putting the young people in those jobs and employing them. So now we have 3 and 4 and 5 times as many Americans employed, and they have them working. And of course, now that we're going to fight, we've got to, again, feed them. We've got to clothe them. We've got to equip them. And so the government's going to be spending money. We're going to be a manufacturer. We're going to be working again. And if people are working, they have money to spend. That's what's going to pull us out. There's some discussion about how we get involved in the war, and how we get involved in the war is relatively simple. We start off, and Roosevelt is not Wilson. Roosevelt knows, hey, we're going to be involved in this war. We're going to get drug into the stuff, and we need to be ready. And so he's going to start off with preparedness. He's going to start off getting ready. He's going to start off with the Lend-Lease Act that says, hey, we are indeed neutral, but we're not. We're going to loan things to the allies. We're going to loan things to our friends. We're going to loan them materials. We're going to loan them guns. We're going to loan them bullets. We can't sell them because then we're not neutral, but we can loan them things. And so the Lend-Lease Act is going to do everything short of us actually getting involved in the war. And we get involved in the war after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. We're going to cut off sales of certain products to Japan. That's going to irritate Japan. And Japan is going to come to the realization, hey, listen, America, the United States are going to get in our way of what we want to accomplish. And what we want to accomplish is that Asian sphere of co-prosperity. And by cutting off our supplies, we eventually are probably going to have to fight them. So let's take a preemptive action. Their attack on Pearl Harbor is an ingenious plan. It's a gutsy plan. It comes up with this. What they want to do is go ahead and attack the Pacific Fleet, cripple the Pacific Fleet, because that is our arm in the Pacific. Go ahead and cripple that in such a way by the time we can recover, by the time we can get ships back afloat, by the time we can get them in from the East Coast, they will be fortified. They will be ready. We will be occupied with the Germans. We won't want to deal with them. And that's the plan. And that's where we're at when we get involved in this war, is we're going to have to fight at least a two-front war. And so the Japan's attack on Pearl Harbor means we're going to declare war. Well, because we're going to declare war against Japan, what's going to happen is that we're going to have Roosevelt and we're going to have Churchill meeting, and we're going to sign the Atlantic Charter. And that Atlantic Charter is going to say, hey, listen, this is what's going to happen. We're getting involved in this war. We're getting involved in this war not for 14 points, not for anything else. But what we want to do is we want to guarantee some safety. We want to guarantee some democracy. We want to guarantee some peace in the world. This is what we're going to do. And the treaty says that we're going to fight Germany first. We're going to extinguish this problem with Germany first. And then, once we're done with that, then we're going to turn and face the problem with Japan. And within a certain amount of time, the other elements of our treaty of the Allies will turn and help us handle the problem with Japan as well. And so we're going to have the European theater of operations, and we're going to have the Pacific theater of operations. All right, I want to talk about one more set, and I'll do that in the final video for this unit. Thank you.